Hey all, and welcome to week 2 of chapter 3, talking about derivative formulas. This next one, the quotient rule, is sort of the quadratic formula of derivative rules. The rest are pretty straightforward in terms of memorizing and having them organized. The quotient rule is a little bit more complicated, but I'm warning you, this is as bad as any of them get. So, get yourself ready for notes and we're going to get started. So the quotient rule, it's quotient, so it's divided. So if we're dividing two functions, that would equal f prime g, times f g prime. And so what you'll notice here in the numerator is that this is the same as the product rule, except for its subtraction. Which makes sense. Subtraction and division go together, multiplication and addition. So you're not memorizing a really new formula, it's just a subtraction sign. And then it's all over, there's still a fraction g squared. So let's talk about using it. Remember, for all these formulas, like especially when you're looking at check-ins and quizzes, you absolutely can be using your notes. I encourage and expect you to be using your notes. So absolutely do that. You don't have to have this completely memorized within 3 days. Now, find the derivative, d dt, and this is something I realized I didn't bring up last time, is that if you've got a new variable here, your derivative is just going to always match that. It doesn't seem to have been confusing to any of you, but I just did want to touch base on it because it will start mattering at some point, but not for a couple weeks. So derivative in terms of t, we say this is d dt, of e to the t over 2t plus 1. So what this tells us here is that we have our numerator f and our denominator g. So we're going to lay it out just like we would the product rule, where we'll say f is equal to e to the t. So then we'll find that derivative, which is itself, and then g is equal to the denominator, in this case 2t plus 1. Find the derivative of that, which is just 2 plus 0. So we don't even add the plus 0, we just leave it like so. So then the derivative d dt of f over g, we will plug in, and it's the same as I said, the product rule, f prime g. So e to the t times 2t plus 1. And then here minus fg prime. So e to the t times 2. And then there's that denominator all over g squared. So 2t plus 1 squared, like so. Now all you need to do is a little simplification. What I would do in this case is I noticed that there is an e to the t in both parts of the numerator, so I would factor that. And then I'm left with 2t plus 1 from the first term minus 2 from the second, all over 2t plus 1. Remember, we always want to leave our fractions in factored form in case we can simplify anything out. And then e to the t times 2t minus 1 over 2t plus 1 squared. And unfortunately, those terms don't cancel out, so we just leave it like that. But that's why we simplify, because you can imagine we might have been able to simplify here, but this is minus and this is plus. So that's our first use of the quotient rule. Now, just like last time with the product rule, you always want to simplify first if at all possible. So in number 2, we have a very complicated numerator and denominator, especially denominator. It's like, oh, I don't want to be squaring that and differentiating and doing all those things. You want to simplify first. So in this case, we have a fraction, and if we factor that, we end up with 2x plus 1 in the numerator times 2x plus 1 times x plus 7. As our factored form here. If you want to try for yourself, absolutely. If you want to just check my work by factoring it, you can. And then we divide that out, and we end up with the much simpler 1 over x plus 7. Now it's still a fraction. We're still going to use the quotient rule, but now our f is a constant and our g is much more simplified. So we end up with f is equal to 1, so then f prime, since that's a constant, is 0. G is equal to x plus 7, so g prime is equal to 1 plus 0 for the 7, which is just 1. Now when we plug that in, we've got this lovely first term. The derivative then is 1 times 1 minus, from the formula, 0 times g, so 0 x plus 7 all over g squared x plus 7 squared. Multiplying by 0 is just 0, so our numerator is 1 minus 0 over x plus 7 squared, which is 1 over... Whoop, did I get these in the wrong order? I did. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. This is your first times out. You all, I apologize deeply. The notes are correct, at least the PDF is right. So f prime, 0 times x plus 7 minus 1 times 1 all over x plus 7 squared, which is then 0 minus 1 over x plus 7 squared, which is negative 1 over x plus 7 squared, like so. So I apologize for that little typo where I had the order incorrect, but now we have our correct final derivative with the quotient rule. Practice, make sure you have your formulas in front of you because we're using the power rule here. We're using e to the x. Make sure that you are setting yourself up for success, and I'll talk to you later.